I'm Josh Harris, and you're listening to Clear and Loud, a podcast about the ideas, stories, and voices that are shaping our world. Scot Sustad, it's good to see you, my friend.
I'm starting to really enjoy these podcasts, Josh.
I know we're doing a lot of podcasts. Those of you who have listened to our special episodes, Daddy Boss Love, will know Scot from that show. But we're actually doing a official Clear and Loud podcast episode where I'm not going to ask you any questions about dating. I'm not going to ask you any questions about parenting, but we are going to talk
This
business.
is all boss.
This is all boss. That's right. This is
right.
strictly business. And you know, the interesting connection that we have, it's not just a professional relationship. There's a deep friendship that dates back to me coming to rent a desk at your office. So I don't know that I've ever told this story on the podcast, but I was running Clear and Loud and went to an agency owners luncheon that you were hosting, where you encouraged everybody to get up and kind of share how work and business was going.
That's right. Just being our pastoral selves.
Exactly. You know? You love to create community and connection, even in business context. And so I stood up and I shared, like, yeah, you know, my business is going well, but I'm feeling kind of lonely. You know, I'm just sort of floating around, working from home, working from coffee shops. And you came up to me and you're like, you should come to my office. We rent out desks. And I remember coming to the office, meeting you and your long-term business partner, Ruben Zaidoff, and just being so impressed with you guys. Like, I had this strong sense of, like, these are the kind of guys I need to be around, because they're running businesses, they're creating things, they're like generating, you know, wealth, and then being generous with that and finding ways to boost other people. And that's been like 6 years now. And it's been an amazing friendship. And I've learned so much from you. And then we've had the chance to partner. Clear and Loud has worked for you at different times and done projects, but it's just so fun to collaborate like this.
I love that story too. And you think about how much life we've lived since that time until now, and what an important friendship this has been for us, and business relationship and learning and support. It's so thankful for that moment, really.
Oh, me too, man. Well, the focus of today, there are lots of different business things that we could talk about, but I want to really zero in on inbox booths, which is just one of many businesses that you and Ruben have started together. But tell me the story of this business and what it is.
Yeah, so inbox booths, it's funny because it was one of the least expected businesses we've started, but it has become the most exciting, most fun business we've ever been a part of. It's been the fastest growing, and things just seem to make sense. We got the dynamics right between the market needs and the product. But what we offer at Inbox Booths is soundproof, modular phone booths for offices, up through conference rooms. So I'm sitting in one now. If you're looking at the video, you can see
you're recording a podcast in an inbox booth.
and this is a medium-sized booth, but we came upon the idea out of our personal experience, actually. So we had a digital marketing company. We still have a digital marketing company called Digital Hot Sauce. And we were doing a remodel of a space. And one of the biggest problems we made very apparent to the designer was that we've got a copywriter sitting next to an account person. Yeah. And we've got all of these different functions that we need. But the biggest issue was noise of somebody trying to do focus work and somebody else needing to talk, or needing a private space to work when we were in a pretty tight space.
Yeah.
And so made that clear to the designer, and the designer came back and had spec'd in some office phone booths. And they were Framery phone booths. And we went to the furniture dealer in town, checked them out, fell in love with them. And then took a step back from the plans. And when we looked at the line items on that design, I went, these two booths are more expensive than our entire office remodel, to a great degree, like
Oh,
so
that's
much more
crazy.
expensive.
So this designer was telling you to go and buy booths, but they were
Yeah.
super expensive.
And that's when we became aware of the solution.
Wow.
And we could see the purpose right away. They made so much sense. And then with that deduction that these are way too expensive, like let's just build them. We have contractors coming in already. And being in the business now, this is what so many people do. You jump to the conclusion that, oh, we'll just build them out traditionally with drywall, and maybe we'll add some soundproofing and whatnot. And so we built 2 phone booths and 1 meeting room with traditional construction. And one of the biggest things about that is that you think building rooms is super simple if you aren't in construction.
Right.
You're overlooking things like HVAC, sprinklers,
Yeah.
fire alarms, code, contractors, project management. You're just thinking like, I'll call my dad and slap these things up. Come to find out, those rooms actually cost us about $37,000, I remember.
Oh my
And
gosh.
which was more than we thought. And that was with us calling in every favor that we knew. And we had added a bunch of soundproofing because we wanted to make them, perform like the booths. And then you put like a $200 door on these meeting rooms or the phone booths. And no matter what you do with the drywall and the insulation and whatnot, all the sound comes
Yeah.
directly
I
out the door.
remember those booths. They were not soundproof.
Do you remember? There was one time where literally I was on a counseling appointment in one of those rooms, and somebody came over and was like, knock, knock, knock. I can hear everything you're saying. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. But the worst.
I'm hearing about your childhood trauma, and I probably shouldn't be listening. So
I didn't want to have this sort of relationship with you. Yeah. And it was
So,
literally like
oh
you
my
watch
gosh.
yourself melt.
Yeah.
And then the
Oh my
other major
goodness.
thing about those rooms is people hated them. We all hated them. They were always muggy
Yeah.
because they didn't breathe. They didn't perform well. We were constantly throwing different soundproofing stuff in there to see what we could do. And it just felt very makeshift. And fast forward a few years and the pandemic hit. We had the digital marketing company, another company, and we were we had about 20 people on staff when we got the call that, oh, we've got to shut down essentially.
Yeah.
And then we lost 60% of our revenue in 2 weeks. It was insane.
Yeah. It was a
And
scary time.
we're like, we're entrepreneurs. Let's figure something out. And we dug deep into, okay, what is going to be a pressing need during this, quotation marks, 3-month pandemic,
Right.
and what is going to be in demand after it. And all signals pointed to video calls being something that was just exploding at the time.
Right.
Zoom was going insane. And so we started going, okay, what can we do in video call technology? We were looking at hardware, software, lighting kits, all sorts of things. And then we punched down to another level, and because we thought some of the things didn't have enough of a moat, or they would be they'd be too easy for others to jump into that space.
Yeah.
And so we went deep into what makes a perfect video call. And in our research from a few different sources, the same phrase kept on coming up, which was control the environment. The best thing you can do is control your environment. So where you take the video call is actually the most important thing.
Wow. Yeah.
And so we were noodling on that. And then I was like, Ruben, we've got to start the booth company that we needed, and that was the impetus. So then we started looking at what the office booth market was doing and looking at different trends. And essentially we were like, okay, let's go for it. This is either going to go down in flames or we're going to have something here. But we're at the stage where we got to do something. And so we ended up going for it. And it was funny because it started out simple. but then you just start seeing all the different layers of this business. But the truth is we are having so much fun, and I'm so passionate about this product for so many different reasons. One being involved in bringing the product from where we started to where it is now and seeing
Because
that
you're
development.
constantly improving it and tweaking it and making it better.
Yeah, we applied like the digital sort of
Mm,
feedback loop to it where you're like, okay, what are the biggest issues? Okay, we're going to highlight those, we're going to fix those, and then we'll
mm-hmm.
we'll keep on working our way down the priority list. And watching that evolve, and then seeing how effective they are. And I think we're really early in the market as well, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty exciting, where modularity, flexibility, nobody really knows what's happening in office
Yeah.
space. There are a lot of
Right.
people talking about it, but
Exactly.
in- inevitably people are feeling a bit risk adverse. And the beauty about these booths is they perform, they're set up in a day. Um, they are less expensive than if you were to build something similar to
And you
them
can
with
take it with you. If you move offices,
exactly.
you can take it with you.
It's yours, or
Yeah.
you can resell it, right?
Right.
Or you can repurpose it. And so then you move into like sustainability and you're like speed, efficiency, flexibility,
Yeah.
move it around the space, take it with you, resell it.
Well, talk
Um,
for me for a second about this because I find the whole conversation around how work is changing, and as you said, nobody really knows where it's going. Like
it,
there are all these battles over CEOs wanting to get the people back in the office, and
yeah,
then
exactly.
remote work and hybrid work and all those things taking place. But the whole open office concept, like I don't understand the history of like when that actually
Mhm.
happened, but there was like this awesome idea. We'll all just work in an open space.
Yep.
And like what's been the outcome of that? Because I feel like that plays into this issue as well, like the need
Oh,
for
100%.
privacy.
Yeah, 100%. Cubicles used to be the norm. And then it moved into this, oh, we're going to have meeting rooms and everybody's going to move out. And really in real estate, it was a much quicker move. It was much less expensive. And,
Mm,
and it was a great way for landlords to move space. And then it became sort of the cool thing to do.
yeah, it's kind of like a fad with like, oh, this is the cool Google way to build an office or something.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the data's out on it. And people, before the pandemic, it was like the data is terrible. I'm so bad with stats. I can't pull things off the top
But
of my head,
it's
but
not working. The point is that it's not delivering as planned.
it's really not working. And but it's where people are locked in.
Yeah.
And it's what continues to be the theme a lot of the time. But you're seeing this resurgence of meeting rooms and private spaces, breakaway rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's been exacerbated by people working at home through the pandemic and
Mm-hmm.
having pretty dedicated space that they've set up where they can work in the environment
Right.
of their choosing.
Yeah.
And now they're being mandated to come in, whatever the hybrid work scenario is,
Yeah.
once a week, twice a week, full time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're super frustrated. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, the weird thing too is that when they come in on those hybrid days or whatever you call them when they go into the office, they're still needing to do video calls. Like it's not like all their meetings are face to face. I love face to face meetings.
yeah,
Whenever they
even
can
if you're on
happen.
the same team, you've
But
got a
you can
split
be
team and
yeah,
half the,
exactly.
yeah.
Right. I mean, that's like Kelly and I when we're doing like a call with a client or whatever it might be, it's like we can be in the same like location, but we actually need to be on separate computers to jump on a video. It's funny how all that works now.
I literally today, so we still have an office space where we rent fewer desks now, but we have a couple of different businesses working in our space.
Yeah.
And then, by ratio, we have just a ton of booths, right? We probably have 20 people in here on a busy day. And today I literally pulled out my phone and went around the office taking, here's all of the empty hot desks essentially, or people have dedicated desks
Yeah.
here. They're all empty. And every single booth, which is like, I think we have 9 booths in here and 20 people in various sizes of booths,
Oh,
but every
funny.
single booth was occupied and people are walking around still looking for booths.
Yeah.
And this makes the sales process so easy when you're like, I'm experiencing this. and
Yeah.
this is what it looks like. We have a ton of them. So
Right. That when people have the choice, instead of working at their dedicated open office desk, they would prefer to be in a booth. Like it's just, there's more quiet, there's more focus. They can jump on a video call, not feel awkward.
yeah, we have these awkward Slack conversations to the whole group being like, please minimize your time in the booths. Others are waiting,
Yeah.
because what people will often do is, oh, I'm in for a call. And then they just want
Oh,
to hang out in the
right.
booth,
Yeah.
right?
That's
All
so
day long
funny.
to stay focused. And I
Okay.
totally get it.
The specific project that I want to talk about today, you're running inbox booths, they're selling great, you're going into all these different kinds of offices and convention centers and cafes and all these different
Mhm.
types of booths that you're selling. You decide to launch this new program within your company, Inbox Unlocked. And that's the
Mhm.
project that Kelly and I, through Clear and Loud, have been able to come along and support you with websites and messaging and all those kinds of
Mhm.
things. But I want you to kind of explain this concept and the motivation for it, because I do think
Yep.
it's kind of a wild idea in many ways.
Yeah.
What's the story of this unlocked program? What exactly is it?
Yeah. So we're so passionate about this product, one, the utility of it, and our Ruben and I, when I say we are, our mission really is always what gets us out of bed is to solve problems that create value.
Mm,
We love that. That's what entrepreneurship is to us.
yeah.
Our our business ideas typically always come out of a frustration that we're really feeling,
Mm,
versus some pie in the sky opportunity. So
yeah.
we are pain based entrepreneurs, if you will.
I love that.
And there's lots of problems, but then you got to do it where there's money that can pay for it.
Yeah.
Um, and so we've been growing, we've been moving this. We think that we can eliminate so much waste with booths as
Hmm.
well, where you aren't having to like demo offices that are built. Um,
Yeah.
you move them around with you. So one of our goals is to keep them out of landfills. But Inbox Unlocked came from, how do we get this amazing product, which if you compare us, it's like our value proposition is so strong. It's like
Mm,
better service, better price, better product, delivered faster. It's like, okay,
nice.
if we're going against booths, we crush it. But
Yeah.
the real competitor is construction and education.
Yeah.
Traditional construction is our biggest competitor. And so I was noodling really hard around Christmas time, or I guess it was November last year, going, how do we have to stretch all of North America, and we need to do that very quickly,
Mm,
um, because there's going to be more competition, and we want to be, our big mission is like become the Kleenex of office booths,
I
right?
love it.
So if
Yeah.
you refer to inbox, and it's like everybody knows what an inbox is, or your
That's
Uber,
great.
right?
Right.
Um, but we've got to span a ton of geography. It's a physical product,
Hmm.
right? It needs to be installed most of the time as well by somebody,
Hmm.
and then it needs to be serviced at points. Not a lot, but sometimes. So if you're thinking about, we need a service somewhere in the middle of Nevada, we need somebody that is able to do that.
Right.
And so we've got this geographic reach problem, and then we have a volume and a market penetration issue.
Mm,
And so I was noodling on this problem, going through this course with Benjamin Hardy. If you've heard of him, he's the guy who wrote Who Not How.
mm.
10x is easier than 2x. I signed up for this course, did this like eight
Are you
week
one of those
rapid
guys that
trans.
signs up for those courses that just like,
Only him.
I
Like
love
I
it.
had heard it, I had heard him speak at a conference.
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments where you're like, wow, this guy is speaking directly to me in what I need to hear.
Like
And then
big
he launched.
challenge, like go for something huge.
Yeah, it was like how your past is so important,
Yeah.
but it doesn't shape like your future. Your
Yeah.
future can pull you into what is possible, but really all of those decisions happen right here, right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what I need to hear.
That's
And
great.
then he launched this course, which is about, rapidly transforming what is possible.
Mm,
And so I was like really deep on this problem, and he has you set this impossible goal. And setting the impossible goal was like, how do we serve all of North America? How do we go from, this number of booths
Right.
to, 10 times that number
Right.
of booths in
Right.
the same amount of time? So you're doing these thought exercises, and I was on a plane and literally it just started to like pop for me. I was saying the only way that we can accomplish our goals of having this geographic spread is through people. Like
Yeah.
we're going to need people to know the product and represent us. And then the second piece came in where I was like, 100%. I would love to attract people like who I was in
Mm.
university or who Ruben was in university, where you're like, okay, you're going to pay me what? Okay, yeah, I need to stay up all night? I'll do whatever it takes to do
Right.
that.
Where there's
Um,
real reward for actually really hustling and working hard.
yeah, like work hard. And it's just like the
Hmm.
right kind of person that is entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Maybe they aren't an entrepreneur, but they are creative. They're a hard worker. They've got
Yeah.
sales pieces. And so I started going like, oh man, I want to provide this opportunity to the young Scott and Ruben,
Mm.
the, the kids in university who can potentially do it. And then I remember listening to something with Dave Ramsey at some point, which, take him or leave him. I know there's a lot of different opinions on it, but with him, one of the biggest things is a lot of times people are in this stage where they want to make a massive shift in their lives.
Yeah.
They've like looked at their finances and they're like, we got to do something different. We
Right.
need to get out of debt. And a lot of the times it's like, you need the fastest income that you can. And I genuinely believe like, right, if you've got that deep sense of meaning or drive,
Hmm.
then you're in such a great place to actually, move the needle in your life in a lot of ways. So it's like we got the university student I was thinking about. Then you've got this life shifter
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
personality who's like, we got to get out of debt. We got to do something different.
Hmm.
And a lot of times I think about this couple that can do it. And then the third one is like the entrepreneur or the entrepreneurial person who's like, oh man, I just am like doing this Joe job and I'm meant for more.
Mm.
I just need my more thing. Like
Yeah.
and you've got so many people who are like, I'm meant for more. I'm meant to do this thing, but they don't know what their thing is.
Yeah.
It's like, well, here's a transition to seeing like, if you have a thing, can you really go for it? And so all this to say, I was thinking about these people and I was like, I would love to like do this entrepreneurial boot camp with these types of people, um, and then have them represent Inbox. And we essentially create this win-win together. We accomplish our goal as a company. These people get a new pathway. And so in summary, I've given like too big of an intro, but the
No,
big
I
thing
love it.
is like with, Inbox Unlocked, we're going with this booth that is just an amazing product at a great price.
Mm.
Uh, the inboxers, the people, the participants in Inbox Unlocked will be called inboxers, and they'll be selling this one booth, the Tuesday booth,
Mm.
we call it. And then going through this entrepreneurial boot camp with the potential to earn $35,000 in 3 months. And started with that spurt of inspiration, and now it's turned into this whole program that it felt like it was in me to like do it.
Right.
When it landed, I was like, yes, I've got so much energy for this. And
But the thing that when you first talked to me, I remember Kelly and I being in your house, and it was one of your pizza nights. Domino's Pizza, and
Dirty D's.
maybe even a movie. I can't remember what was happening that night. But you started talking about this idea, and the thing that really surprised me is like, you just saying, "Hey, we need people to help us sell this amazing booth" is one thing, but you're not talking about hiring them. You're
No.
talking about, and you're not even like, asking them to buy into a franchise. There's
Hmm.
not like some sort of big cost where everyone has to. It's not some pyramid scheme where it's like, oh, pay me this and then you can sell this product or whatever. Like
Exactly.
get into the details of how that is structured, because to me that's the thing that I find really surprising about the way you're approaching this.
Yeah. And just to set the context on that too. So say we've heard about these things like college pro painters. I'll pick on them for a second. These college based programs, they'll go into a university and they'll be like, all right, we're recruiting you. You can make X number of dollars. You're going to have to build your team. You're going to have to buy your products. You're going to have to win all of your customers. You're going to have to like on and on and on. And you like buy into it. And it's this, it's a very arduous, whole process and scenario that you get into. And
Yeah.
sure, you're going to work really hard and you can do quite well. Instead, we're coming and I'm like looking for the person who has that innate drive, right? We
Yeah.
are going like, we have an amazing product.
Yeah.
We're looking for the amazing people to represent this. And I value your amazingness as a person so much that look, it saves us so much on marketing expenses. It gives us the ability to pay people more that are the right fit for this sort of thing.
Right.
If they stand up for it. So yeah, I wanted to lower every barrier to being part of this that would keep the right people away if possible. So yeah, like no fees. And look, this is the passion for me. I'm diving in. I'm basically, waiting my success on you. And so I'm dedicated to you being successful in this program
You're
as
saying
well.
I'm gonna train you. You're not having to buy in to this,
Yeah.
but you're unleashed to sell this, and then you're earning this, what I think is a
Yeah.
really big commission on every one that they sell. They don't have to buy 10 in advance or anything like that. They just go out there and they sell this booth and just talk about
Yeah.
the numbers that
Yeah. So
what
it's
you're
like,
offering.
$35,000 in 3 months. And that essentially is $1,000 per booth. So all of the inboxers' goal is going to be to sell 35 booths. Why 35? Well, 35 is a container. So if we can work in containers, that helps us
Amazing.
keep our costs lower. And that was just the number that started to land and going, okay, $35,000, you make $1,000 per booth. I've got a whole bonus sort of structure in there as well that I'm not going to put out there until you're in the program. No fees to be a part of it. And then the biggest challenges for people are like, what's the catch? What's the catch? This sounds
Right.
like an MLM sort of thing.
Right.
You're
Right.
like, no, actually, we're giving you a great product. We're going to equip you to sell the product. You're going to have to work your ass off. You're going to have to go for it. But you also are going to have to get through this application process that essentially is like, you're the type of person that is meant to represent us and is sort of has the core ingredients to be successful
Right.
as well.
I mean, so I guess the risk for the person that's applying, there's very little risk for them except the time investment of doing the training, going out there and working their networks and connections to try to sell. But if they don't sell anything, there's no risk or penalty on their part. So actually the greater risk is on your part because you are taking all of your time to promote this, to train these people, which I guess is why is really important that you be selective in who you choose. You know what I mean? Like if you pick all these people that are just like well-intentioned, but they're not really willing to work hard, then actually you're the one that's wasting, time and resources.
Yeah. And I mean, I've really internally with the company, I have leveraged so much, where Sarah, our finance woman, and I are like into it because I'm saying I need this money in order for this to be successful. And all the risk is really on us.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what is their risk if we're doing this? What are they,
Right.
what sort of leverage do we have? And, a lot of people have said like, oh, you believe too much in humanity. People aren't going to do this in the way that you think. And that could be true.
Yeah.
And we'll have to vet really well.
We'll have to do a follow-up podcast.
Kelly in, right?
We'll have
I'm
to
way
do a
too
follow-up
optimistic.
podcast. We'll do a follow-up podcast, in 6 months or a year. Like, did this work? And if it does, you'll be like, yes, there are still good people out there who work hard, or I don't believe in humanity anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it comes down to like problem solvers, people that are creative, people that if you're the type of people that are like, oh yeah, there's no way, like, or how would I do this? It's not for you. It's for the people that like, even if they have the goal and they don't know how they're going to get there, they have this certain belief in themselves that they'll find a way.
Right.
And there's so much creativity that can go into it.
Well,
which
I think
so
it would
fun.
be kind of fun. Like as you think about, like I sent this to I was DMing an old friend, a guy from my old church. We'd had a conversation about his career, and he's just an amazing person that I just think has been like stuck in these, really kind of dead end kind of roles and jobs that haven't really used his gifts. And I immediately thought of him with this thing, and I was like,
Yeah.
you got to check this out. My buddy Scott's doing this. It's legit,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But for the person that's like, they've never really thought through like the whole, office world and the need for these kinds of booths and spaces and those types of things, like what would like how would you lead through a brainstorm of them thinking about their city? Like they're in what,
Yeah.
I don't know, what, some city in the States or in Canada, wherever it might be, and they're looking around and going, okay, well, what kind of places would need these?
Yeah. And okay, just to double down on what you're saying too, I fully agree. I'm like, somebody comes to me, I'm in university. Somebody comes to me, they're like, all right, typical job is like $7,000 for a summer. You
Yep.
can make 35 this
Yeah.
summer. I'd be like, I'm all in. And then they're like, yeah, you're going to be selling this office booth. And I'm like, a university student. And I'm just like, like, like if you
Because maybe
haven't,
you've never paid attention to this need.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I think it's kind of like, all right, I'm so excited about this opportunity. I see it. But then if, you haven't worked in an office or you just like haven't really experienced that problem in a certain way, a lot of people haven't been in booths. They can't even picture it.
Right.
Um, then I think, yeah, it's like kind of hard to picture. And that's where I'm like really down to closing that gap for people.
Hmm.
And it's like, I've seen the opportunity. I know
That's
how
part
this
of the
opportunity
training that you're going
works.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And the training is like one part inspiration because I want everybody to like unlock similar to what I did in that Ben Hardy course.
Yeah.
I want people's minds to be blown by what they're actually capable of when
Mm-hmm.
they really focus on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been like totally moved by that. So I'm bringing in like one part inspiration. The other part is like hyper tangible, to-do list
That's
sort of
good.
stuff that are all leading indicator, like do these activities,
Yeah.
which are reasonable within the day. And if you do this, you'll get the outcomes you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But going into that brainstorm sort of thing of your network, it's like, hey, who do you know that works in a business?
Yeah.
At the simplest form. Oh, and maybe not you. It's like, hey, Dad, can I borrow your phone for a minute if you're a young person?
Yeah.
Or if you're, a peer where you're 40 something years old, which is totally awesome for this. We've been talking about university students, but I think some of the
Yeah.
most successful people will be like a couple that
I totally
are on
agree.
it together.
Yeah.
They're encouraging each other. They're like, let's do this. Let's build something. And inevitably there's going to be one person responsible, but like,
Yeah.
I love the idea of a whole family could
That
get
kind of
behind this.
partnership. Yeah.
And then you start saying, okay, who do we know that is working in offices? And, you start making your list like that, but we're also giving some marketing plans where it's not like you need to know people one-on-one.
Yeah.
We have some plays that I won't like say publicly that
Yeah.
you can run that I expect sales to actually start coming to some of these people
Incredible.
without a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
So they're getting warm leads and then they're also out making it, starting the conversation, figuring out the need.
I love
but
it.
yeah, we'll have tons of like, it's all blueprints to a certain degree in this training and personal development, but also like make some money while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like the ideal kind of scenario.
Well, it's really interesting because when I'm on Instagram, maybe it's just because of the people I follow, the stuff I'm into, I get so many like accounts that are like, try this side hustle or like do this thing and you can use AI to make, all this money every day and passive income this and passive income that kind of a thing.
The opportunity isn't on Amazon anymore.
Yeah,
It's on Audible.
It's
Yeah.
like, right. It's not drop
$8,000
shipping. It's
a
this.
month. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
so it's been interesting as we've been like coming alongside you with the messaging side of this and thinking about it. It's like these are real numbers. Like there's a real promise of financial payoff, but it's not this like passive, hey, just put in 3 hours and then let AI do the rest of the work for you. Although I'm sure there's an AI
Uh,
play in here for the marketing, but but
Surely.
but the point is just that I'd love for you to speak to that whole kind of like easy side hustle, mindset, and how you feel that this is different
Yeah.
than that, because there's a
Yeah.
huge culture out there.
One, it's a sales role, right? And certain people are sales people,
Yeah,
right? So, okay. Speaking to it. Yeah, absolutely. Like I, I bristle, when you start talking like this or you start making promises on things too, because we're all
yeah,
just so tired
yeah,
of that. And we
yeah.
just like, hey, you know what? I got some crypto opportunity for you kind of thing,
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
as well. Like we all sniff that stuff out. And I think with this is like, hey, no, we're looking for people who have a natural like bent toward this sort of work so
Yeah.
that it will be enjoyable. So, in our application process, you have to go through an assessment that will essentially say like, are you geared toward
Mm-hmm.
sales roles, toward
Yeah.
networking relationship roles?
Yeah.
Because not everybody is, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will go through this assessment and be like, oh, I can totally see what they're looking for and just hate it. But
Yeah.
the right people are like, oh, totally.
I
Yeah,
love
that's
this.
like,
Yeah. The right
you know,
people, even as they're listening to this, are already thinking of like 10 people that they would call to try to sell a booth to. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
And
yeah.
for us, like greasy is not it. Like sales is not a greasy thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
Sales is like an educational, you're bringing people to a decision point, but you're doing that through
Mm-hmm.
service and education. That's the way
And
that we
solving real
think about
problems.
sales.
Yeah.
Actually solve the problem. You don't want anybody to be upset with you when they've spent the money, right? You
Mm-hmm.
want them with great reviews. So when I say sales, I like a lot oftentimes veer away from that term because
Yeah.
it's got such a used car salesman sort of thing on it these days.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, it's like this is not for the people who are gonna sit back and like want other people to do it for them.
Mm-hmm.
This is for the hustler. This
Yeah.
is for the doer.
Yeah.
This is not for the naysayer who wants to just tear things apart. All of
Mm-hmm.
these people will have the friends that will be like, "Oh yeah, it's total BS. I could have done it, but it just wasn't for me at the time. Like I could have done it too." And you're like, "No, these are the people that are like, yeah,
That'll
I'm
actually do
moving
it.
through this process. I'm going to go for it, and I have to work hard.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm going to work hard on this as well, and that's really part of it. And so, I mean, three things where I was like, oh, why am I so passionate about this? It like
Mm.
brings my three things together. It's
I
like
love it.
solve problems that create value,
Yeah.
be part of a community that
Mm-hmm.
is like a like-minded community that has a similar sort of mission, you know, and then help people,
Yeah.
like provide opportunity, unleash people into what they're capable of in life. And all those things I can completely like throw myself into.
That's really cool.
Um,
And when you talk about the community side of it, you're talking about you're wanting to choose 100 people to be a part of this program. There
mhm.
is a certain, exclusivity to it, but they're this group that you're wanting, them to feel supported by each other. You're leading them. You're doing
Yep.
weekly calls. I know your original vision. I know you still want to do it where you actually bring everybody together in person. I know that's going to
It
happen.
got poo-pooed. At some point, we're gonna do that. Yeah,
Definitely, definitely.
yeah,
But that sense of like you're calling people into something where they're, even if they're alongside people in other cities,
yeah,
they're all figuring out ways how to get these booths and into offices and spaces and so on. And I agree. I feel like that doing something big with other people is just a massive part of a sense of purpose.
yeah. And it's like the law of undulation. We are going up and down. We are so excited usually when we like take on a new commitment, and then you're like, oh, you face the wall of doom where you're like, oh, this is gonna be so much. And
Yeah.
that's where community resources, tools, all of like that mix is what really makes us able to overcome the hurdles. And so, yeah, one of the things that I'm going to do, I'm like saying this sheepishly too, because I'm like, this is going to be so much work for me. And then they build the program, but I'm going to do it. I want to do
You want to
as
be
we
an
launch the
inboxer yourself.
as we launch the first cohort,
Yeah,
and not to like take away sales from other people, I want to do it so that I'm in the trenches
that's great.
personally. And instead of just, tell selling people, this is what you're going to do, I'm going to be doing the same blueprints.
I love it.
I'm going to be doing the things that I'm asking them to do, sharing my own stories, taking their creativity, sharing it. So then I can face the same challenges
And
and
talk
apply
about it
myself to overcoming.
and not just be like in your ivory booth.
Yeah,
Kind of
exactly. It is ivory. It
No.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
so just I mean, we'll put the website address in the show notes, and make it easy for people to link to it. But what's the basic process? People need to apply to be considered. What is that going to look like?
Yeah. So we're launching the first cohort or team. I think we're going to call them teams on March 15th. And so that's when the training will start. And when the training starts, the work starts
Hmm.
as well. Um, and we are doing 25 so that we can learn as we go where the holes are. And
The
then
first 25 people.
the first 25 people of
Yeah.
our 100
Okay.
inboxers. And then we'll be launching another 25 where we'll see how many those next cohorts become as well from what we're learning so in the months following. And the offering or the training is essentially going to be, online sort of spurt,
Mm-hmm.
quick, self-guided,
Mm-hmm.
twice a week on a Monday and a Wednesday. And then on Friday, it's going to be a group call that will be also recorded. We'll have ongoing Slack channel, whatnot, but the application process is quite quick. So you do a 3-minute fill out the application form just to make sure you meet the criteria. Then you're into doing this assessment. That assessment basically saves everybody time and heartache
Yeah.
and saying like, hey, we're going to work with those
Are
that,
you wired
you
to
know,
be someone to get these booths out there? Yeah.
right. And then they do a video submission. Why them? Um, and then an in-person or video interview as well
Fantastic.
with somebody on the team
I
where we'll
love it.
also answer questions and
I
set
mean,
them up for
it's
success.
honestly it's so interesting because there are just so many there's so many things happening out there that are just massive scale. You're just like a number. You're
It,
you're talking to a chat bot or something.
exactly.
And
Yeah, totally.
I
Mm.
love how I just feel like this is very like grassroots and gritty. It's like we're choosing 100 people. We're going to train you how to sell these, and there's a real interview process. You're not it's not some scam where you got to, buy into this and pay tens of thousands of dollars for the opportunity. If you have the qualifications and we think you have what it takes, we're going to train you. We're going to put everything in your hands to make this happen. But it's just kind of
Yeah.
old school. Like I love it's like, you're going to get on a call with them, and if you get chosen, it's like, let's go. Like I can see
Yeah.
a lot of people, even if it's not like I need this money right now. I mean, I think there are a lot of people out there that could use 35K in 3 months. But even for just that sense of like, man, I want to dive into something. I want to
Let's
actually
be
get
part of
something.
something,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think it's worth pointing out that it's there's not a cap on this. Like the
Oh, 100%.
35K in 3 months is this goal. Like this is doable if you follow this blueprint. But
Yeah.
if somebody, just figures out how to connect with businesses and start rolling this, they don't have to stop at selling 35 booths. They could sell 100 booths. They could sell
Yeah.
200 booths. They could sell 500 booths, and it's $1,000 a booth. So I mean, like that is incredible when you think about the potential. And there might be some people who sell 20, and that's not a
Yeah.
failure. They just made 20K. So I think it's
Exactly.
worth saying that this is a really incredible opportunity.
Yeah. And this is base layer, right? So the successful ones, we need permanent people as well. Maybe we'll
Yeah,
see where it ends up, but like
sure.
there will be opportunity for you to have a permanent opportunity, even if it's not like a full-time employee.
Right.
Maybe it is a full-time employee.
Yeah.
Um, there will be a lot that gets determined, but yeah. And then selling not just the single booth, the other booths that we sell, doing helping us connect with people in that area. This is just the foundational layer
I
that
love it.
so much springs off of.
Well, you don't know how hard I'm having to work to keep Kelly from just joining as an inboxer.
Kelly, just listen for a second. I
I'm,
have another opportunity that I
I
want to talk
actually
to you
think
about.
she'll be, if she hears that you're trying to do it in Vancouver, she'll be more motivated just to try to compete with you.
Yeah,
So-
100%, because we're adopted siblings.
exactly. You
You know,
guys are like brother
we
sister, so that's awesome. Well, Scott, I love what you're doing. I saw this in you from that first day that I met you, where you're doing this meeting with other, marketing agency owners, and you were creating a space where people were actually connecting and sharing from their own lives and so on. And I just see you do this wherever you go. It's like whenever
mm,
whatever context you're in, you're leading people towards a goal, you're making them feel a part of something. And I just can't wait to hear the stories that are going to come out of this inbox unlocked program. I really do feel
mm,
like there are going to be, families that this could be, a massive game changer. Or you talk about the college student, university student, massive game changer for their financial, future and security, and even just the learning that's going to take place. Like what people are going to learn by getting some wins and proving this to themselves, I think is going to be just incredible.
I appreciate that so much. It's so exciting for me. It's all the things a meaningful community that's
Yeah,
doing stuff together.
that's awesome.
Like I can't fake that. That's
That's
just
true.
who I am.
It's true.
Um, and this is where I have like endless energy for this sort of thing, which I'm grateful for and can't wait. It's starting to go.
It's
Um,
starting to go. I love it. Well,
and
thanks for
so
coming.
grateful for Clear and Loud
Oh
as
man,
well.
it's been a lot of
Frankly,
fun.
like I'll just gonna toot the Clear and Loud horn for a second. I own a marketing agency. I get this world quite well.
Mm,
Um, the and I also have a great appreciation for how difficult it is to be clear in
mm,
a message, to boil things down. And um, Clear and Loud has been our go-to over and over, other than when they weren't available. So
uh,
hands down,
I
like we
appreciate
are
that, man.
friends, but I'll work with friends once if they aren't good at what they do. But then if I've worked with them over and over, easy to sing Clear and Loud's praises.
I
Highly
appreciate
recommended.
that, man. Well, can't wait to see that all that unfolds. It's exciting.
And, yeah. Thanks for having me on, Josh.
Yeah, man, it
So
was
fun.
fun. Thanks for listening to the Clear and Loud podcast. I'm your host, Josh Harris. Our producer is Pam Cameron, and this episode contains music by Jeremy Yaddo at Music for Podcasts. If you like what you hear, give us a boost by subscribing or leaving a review on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen. We'd also love your feedback on today's episode. Or if you have a question you'd like addressed on a future episode or a guest you'd like us to consider, email us at hello@clearandloud.com. You can also shoot us a direct message on Instagram. Our handle is @clearandloud. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.